Coming up on AFN Europe Report, the Secretary of Defense talks strategy with key leaders in Paris. Marines and sailors prepare for emergencies through realistic crisis response training. And it's never too late to keep those New Year's resolutions.
Good evening, and welcome to your AFN Europe Report. I'm Sergeant Tiffany Collins. As a part of Operation Inherent Resolve, coalition nations are fighting against the Islamic State and strategically setting future goals to combat terrorism around the world. Staff Sergeant John Archiquette traveled to Paris, where top defense officials came together to discuss some of these future plans for fighting ISIS.
Hi, I'm Air Force Staff Sergeant John Archiquette, and I'm here in Paris, France, where U.S. Secretary of Defense Ashton Carter is meeting with top defense representatives from allied nations to discuss plans to defeat ISIS. He first met with American Ambassador to France, the Honorable Jane Hartley, and paid their respects to those who lost their lives in November's terrorist attacks. Next, Secretary Carter met with French Defense Minister Jean-Yves Le Drian and leaders from 5 nations at the Bollard, the French defense headquarters. Secretary Carter and Minister Le Drian discussed French and American partnership.
I have been proud and grateful to call Minister Le Drian my friend over the last few years,
as well as ongoing strategy in combating ISIS.
We're doing this by first providing a plan and clear leadership, and second by the power of a global coalition.
Secretary Carter also discussed plans for a future meeting with 26 allied nations in Brussels.
I've invited defense ministers from all 26 counter-ISIL military coalition nations, plus Iraq, to convene in Brussels in 3 weeks for a first ever discussion among coalition defense ministers.
In the world we live in, a crisis can happen at any time, anywhere. That's why Marines and sailors conducted realistic crisis response training in Sigonella, using lessons learned from a real-life evacuation in Libya in 2014.
I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. I really don't care. I don't care.
So today we exercised a evacuation control center. So basically what it is if for any reason U.S. citizens or individuals delegated by the ambassador or Department of State need to be evacuated from an embassy in a foreign nation, they would be brought to a safe haven or another country that would act as a safe location. And when that is conducted, there has to be something on the back end, which is what we executed today, is that control center where basically we receive the evacuees and then process them in administratively and provide them with embarkation or transportation to wherever they may be going next, or temporary billeting. It's happened in the past. There was one that even happened recently within the last year or so, and it's important to be able to provide those individuals that are working for the U.S. government with process to bring them to a safe environment in case situation gets a little out of hand. Or training in the Marine Corps is always beneficial because we try to train to the most realistic situation possible. That way, if we ever find ourselves in that situation, we've already been through something similar. One of the most vital parts of the exercise was the role players who did a wonderful job. If the role players hadn't bought into the training as much as they did, then it would have made the whole exercise less beneficial. But because they did their best to make it as realistic as possible, I think our Marines who are working as the ECC personnel, received much more beneficial training than they would have if not.
With the arrival of 4 forward-deployed Naval Forces ships in the past 2 years, Naval Station Rhoda has upgraded its technology base-wide. Petty Officer Jordan Delgardno shows us how ROTA's latest high-tech installment is allowing new officers to gain vital ship handling skills before ever leaving port.
Junior officers attached to USS Donald Cook were trained on various ship handling exercises with the bridge simulator system new to ROTA. They worked together under a senior ship handling instructor who gave different scenarios that might happen during an actual deployment.
It's a great opportunity for the young junior officers that are coming directly from the university or directly from the Naval Academy that may not have had underway time yet. So they get to come in here, as the senior instructor stated, without consequences. They come in here in a benign environment, and they can really learn the basics of ship handling.
The participants of the simulation found the training effective and valuable.
Execute to follow.
Great experience for the new JOs just to get more time driving the ship. You can try out different maneuvers and tactics that we might not necessarily be able to do when we're actually underway in some of our operating areas. And so you can play around with forces on the ship and other things like that. It's nice having it here in ROTA with the destroyer operating schedule they have with like 4 months on, 4 months off. With those 4 months off, the simulator allows us to not get as rusty so that when we pull out the next time.
From Naval Station ROTA, I'm Petty Officer Jordan Delgardno.
The hustle and bustle of one of the busiest flight lines in U.S. Air Force's Europe isn't exactly an ideal nesting place for birds. Nevertheless, Staff Sergeant Joseph Carpenter explains how one bird species has chosen to make its home near the runway at RAF Lakenheath.
RAF Lakenheath is home to Europe's only F-15C squadron. But they aren't the only unique birds calling the East Anglian flight line home.
Stone curlew is extremely rare. There are only about 400 breeding pairs in the country. And given that sort of those last few years we've been having between sort of 6 of those pairs and up to 8 pairs actually at RAF Lakenheath, we make a significant contribution to the overall national population.
The stone curlews love it because it's a fantastic piece of grassland. It's got to be really short so that they can see predators from all directions and undisturbed. Those are the things they really need.
Wait, she said undisturbed, right?
It's really bizarre, but the thing is about the jets, you know, they might be nesting underneath them, but they know that nothing hopefully gets out of the jet, you know, it drives past. Nobody's stopping off to go for a stroll onto the grass.
Life on the flight line for a bird isn't without danger.
When we identify nests, we stop grass cutting in the vicinity and we call in the RSPB, who come in and sort of monitor the nests right through until the chicks fledge.
By stepping in, the Liberty Wing helps ensure the stone curlews have a bright future, and those conservation efforts haven't gone unnoticed.
It is extraordinary the way in which really stand up for these birds when they've got so much else on their plates to worry about that are all to do with, you know, pound notes or dollars. And yet they recognise that this is a real important part of life on this base as well.
Orange over dark green.
Air Force Staff Sergeant Joseph Carpenter, RAF Lakenheath, United Kingdom.
With January behind us, New Year's resolutions may just be a distant memory. And we'd all probably agree that sticking to those resolutions can sometimes be difficult. Petty Officer Rebecca Sunderland shares how one community may have found the secret to success in reaching those goals.
Naval Air Station Sigonella kicked off 2016 with a resolution to fitness through MWR's Fitness Overcome Your Obstacles run. Teams raced over obstacles that, like New Year's resolutions, tested the competitor's stamina and commitment to achieving a goal. Beth Sweeney, MWR's fitness coordinator, believes the race helps to establish a sense of support in the community.
I think a lot of people tend to be a little bit overly ambitious, right? So in this one, we kind of encourage teams. So we want you to know that you can get out there, you can have people that are doing the same things with you, and they may have done it before, and so someone that can kind of help you tackle new challenges.
Finishing the race symbolizes a commitment to self-fulfillment. It also reminds everyone that they're not alone in the race to better themselves. Benjamin Berlin leaned on the support of his siblings to cross the finish line.
And it was just like, persevere and don't stop working, keep trying, get better. The team was really important because like sometimes I'd be the last one and they would be cheering me on.
Reporting from Naval Air Station Sigonella, I'm Petty Officer Rebecca Sunderland.
We're all out of time for tonight. Thanks for joining us. For AFN Europe, I'm Sergeant Tiffany Collins. We'll see you next week.